Rifle Obsession family. This is Pro Staffer Heather Sellen.
And Staff Manager Todd Sellen.
And we're here to talk about our 2022 recap of our pretty amazing hunting season that we had.
Yeah, last time we talked, had a couch chat. We talked about what our goals were going into this season. And that was right around Labor Day. We were up at the cabin and decided to do a couch chat there and just, outline some goals. And the top goal that we had going into the season was to try to get Tala, our oldest daughter, on a deer. This is the first time that she was able to hunt after taking hunter safety this past August.
And really, she blindsided us with the hunter safety piece.
Yeah. We've been trying to get her to take hunter safety for years, and out of the blue, it was actually, I think it was right after we got back from visiting Tyler down in Lake Taneycomo in Missouri. The week after, she all of a sudden wanted to take hunter safety, and so we got it set up and found a place that was offering it at that time, and we were able to get her through hunter safety. So, so that was our number one goal. Our second goal was to try to get Heather out more in the woods and get on deer herself. My goal was to try to harvest a nice buck. We've had quality bucks in the past. We had no clue what type of bucks we had this year because they cut the corn down so late. It wasn't until they started cutting the corn down. I tried to sneak out. Actually, they cut the neighbor's field and they hadn't cut our back field that I hunt on. And I tried to sneak out to change the batteries because I knew that we'd be able to see more once the corn was down. And as I was sneaking out, I walked up on a really nice buck, really wide. I thought he was a 6-point at that time. Turns out he was an 8-point. And so he became my number one buck until the first time I actually sat by myself. I saw an even bigger buck. And so that quickly became my number one. This guy suddenly became my number two. So really we started during youth season in September. So in Michigan, we have a youth season in September. The weekend after, we have early doe season. And then October 1st starts our archery season. And so unfortunately in September, it got really warm. It was really warm. Yeah. So the weekend that we took Tala out hunting, it was like 85 degrees. It was really, really warm. So we decided just to sit. We probably weren't going to see much. At that time, the corn hadn't been cut down. And we just decided just to enjoy our obsession with the outdoors. And so that was pretty cool just to hang out. It's pretty cool. It wasn't cool in terms of temperature.
Yeah, it was an enjoyable experience.
It was an enjoyable experience. So fast forward that a couple weeks. Typically, we take Tala out on a birthday hunt. And so she's
been doing that since she was like 4 or 5.
Yeah, really early.
And actually, funny story about that is you got a deer the day we came home from the hospital with her.
Yeah.
Her birthday is October 5th. And we came home, I think it was on the 7th or 8th. I don't remember. A couple days after she was born. And I get settled in. He goes out hunting and he gets a little 6-point. Little 6-point.
Little management 6-point. I also had a bobcat I had seen maybe a week before that, I would say.
Yeah, that was the first bobcat we'd seen on the property in years.
Which was crazy because even back then, I didn't know if we could shoot it on our property here. So I had to do a little bit of research and found out that this far south, we can't shoot or trap bobcats. So it's a good thing. I was debating on whether I should take a crack at them, but I chose not to until I knew for sure. Yep. And once we found out, it was the better decision that we made. So any rate, we get Tala out on the 3rd, and she had never shot the crossbow before. And so the stand we were going to was a stand that we could only shoot crossbows in. So I assumed that she was going to come with me. We're going to see something. I'm going to take a crack at it with the crossbow. On our way out, Tala surprised me again, and she said, "Dad, can I be the shooter?" And I said, "No, you can't be the shooter, Tala." And she asked why. And I said, "Because you never shot this crossbow before in your life. You've never shot the crossbow before." And she goes, "But it's just like shooting a gun, right?" And I said, "Yeah, all you got to do is put the scope on the deer, just like a gun." She had shot guns before. We got her a gun for her birthday, a Legend 350 from Remington. So actually a Savage Legend 350. So she shot that. She got sighted in, so she was used to shooting guns. And she goes, yeah, but does it kick as much as a gun? I said, no. She goes, it's easy then. All I got to do is put the crosshairs on, pull the trigger. Yeah, I guess.
She's very persuasive.
Yeah. And so I said, okay, what the heck? Why not? So I decide that she's going to be the shooter and I'm going to film. And so in my mind, I'm thinking we might see a deer. We might get a crack at a deer. Chances are she's not going to hit because she's not used to this crossbow. And so sure enough, we're sitting there, maybe an hour. And Tala nudges me. She's like, look, there's a deer coming. I said, yeah. She goes, should I shoot it? I go, well, get ready. So she got ready, took the safety off. And as it's getting closer, I noticed it had nubs. So it was a little button buck. So I said to Tala, I go, we don't want to shoot this one. We want to let this one go. And so the button buck, it was really cool. It just kind of ate some of the leaves and the green grass around the bottom of our tree stand. And actually, rubbed right up against the ladder of our tree stand a couple times, so it was pretty cool. And so after he had got done eating, he walked off. 10 minutes later, not even 10 minutes later.
Yeah. It was a short night.
It was a short night. Tala goes, look, Dad, there's another deer. I said, yep, and it's bigger. You can tell body size, it was bigger. I go, you're going to shoot this one. If it has horns, doesn't have horns, you're going to shoot this one. You can tell it's a bigger deer. Turns out it was a buck. And so as it's coming towards us, ended up being a 6-point. And we were actually able to get it on film, but I was a little excited when she shot it.
That's an understatement. I'm surprised you didn't drop the phone from the tree stand.
I'm gonna send Sam and Nick the footage and see if we can put that footage in there. It's not the greatest video, but you definitely see the excitement. You see the action as it's happening. And Tala put the crosshairs right behind the shoulder and hit the thing right in the heart. It ran right behind us. You could hear it crash behind us. And man, we were so proud. I was so proud. And so that number one goal of getting Tala on a deer, she actually ended up getting the heaviest deer of the season.
She did.
Yep.
It took all of the strength that Todd and I had to be able to pick that deer up and put it into our cart that we haul behind the quad to get it all the way back up to the house. It was a heavy deer.
It was a heavy deer. Yep. And so they estimated it to be about a 3.5-year-old deer with small antler growth. It had a lot of mass on its antlers. But it
was a good one for her to get.
It was a good one for her to get. It was really
bigger than anything I've gotten, so I can't really talk.
Well, that's the first thing she said was what?
I beat you, Mom.
I beat Mom.
Yep.
Yes, she did beat Mom. So a couple days later, I go back out hunting by myself, and as I'm sitting there as the evening progressed, I had a buck show up in the field, and look at it, and I'm thinking, oh, this isn't the one I walked up on. And I look at my binoculars, I'm like, holy smokes, he's a big guy. He looks to be at least a 130 class buck, really good buck. Right behind him was the one I did walk up on, and his antlers, like I said, he was really wide, had a lot of mass. The only thing I didn't notice any brow tines. And then later on, I got to look at him. His brow tines were about 2 inches. I mean, they weren't very big at all. And ended up being an 8-point when I thought he was a 6. But at any rate, so the 130 class came walking out. Number 2 came walking out. Well, I thought he was number 1 up until I saw that 130 class buck. And then another really good 8-point walked out. So I had 3 really good bucks come walking out. Yep. Now, in the past, when we see a good buck, we see him a couple weeks later, and then we'll see him once or twice the rest of the season. That's it. These guys kept coming out once a week. And they were pretty religious. We were able to pattern them. We knew exactly when they were going to come out, where they were going to come out. In fact, I did get a crack at number 2 at one point. However, so I'm sitting in my tree, and I hear a noise behind me, and I turn around and look. This is prime time. This is right at when the deer start moving. I turn around, and my neighbor, the farmer, is out spreading manure. And so the 130 class was actually out in the field across making scrapes. He blew out of the field right away. And I thought, well, that's it. There goes my night. And I put my bow down, and turn back and look again, and there's number 2 standing right behind me. But at that time, the tractor was already coming back. And when the tractor was coming back, he spun and took off. I didn't even have my bow in my hand. So that's hunter error. That was a rookie mistake on my part, but that was my only real good crack at number 2. So,
but it worked out because you got your number 1.
Worked out. So later on, fast forward a week or two, sitting in my tree, we actually had a podcast on this, the selling buck, and sitting in my tree right at dark, and it's getting later in October. So yeah, it was the last week in October actually, and I'm thinking we only have Tala's buck in the ground right now. I haven't even shot my bow yet at anything.
And we didn't have a lot of meat in the freezer.
We don't have a lot of meat, especially now their freezer died.
Yeah, our freezer just died about a month ago, and we lost almost all our venison.
All of our meat, yeah.
So I was able to save some of it, but most of it's gone. So anyway.
So here I am at dark, and nothing in the field. So I take my arrow out of my bow, put it in my quiver, put my quiver on, put my hoist rope, strap my hoist rope up, pick my bow up out of the tree, and I turn, and I'm like, oh shoot, there's a nice buck right behind me. I could see his antlers out. He was forked at the tip, so I thought, you know what? I'm gonna knock an arrow and see if I get a crack at him. Even if he's a big 4-point, hey, I got a tag to use. So turns out he came within 10 yards, and again,
it was not a 4-point.
Was not a 4-point. Hunter error. I didn't compensate for the fact I was 25 feet in the tree, and hit him where I aimed, but didn't put a lethal shot on him. A week later, fast forward to a week later.
Well, let's back up. Let's talk a little bit more about the phone call to me to come out and help.
So go ahead.
So I get, obviously during hunting season, I keep my phone very close, especially when Todd's out in the blind or the stand, just in case there's an emergency, in case he needs me to get the quad out there, he gets one, whatever it might be. But I try to keep my phone right on me during that time. And I got a text message, big buck down, and followed up with a phone call. I'm like, it doesn't count until we actually find it. Like, there's no buck down. So I get out there, and I can already tell he's already down and out of the stand by the time I get out there. And I can tell he's already upset. Like, so this isn't going to be a good night. There is no blood anywhere. There is not a drop. And the bedding area is all brown and briars, and
it should have been easy to pick up a blood trail.
It would have been if there was a blood trail, we would have found it.
No turned up leaves, nothing. We couldn't find imprints in the mud, nothing.
So I am crawling under briars. Meanwhile, he's just pacing. He's holding his bow. Did you have the crossbow or your bow?
No, I had my bow.
You had your bow. And he is just pacing, holding the bow back and forth. I'm like crawling under briars, going like just walking over, hoping, praying that I'm going to be able to just stumble upon this buck, because there's nothing for us. So finally, after about an hour of that, it's getting dark. We're like, was it a Sunday?
I think it was on
a
Sunday.
School day. Yeah. Anyway, we had school the next day, and I was like, that's it. I'm calling it.
Maybe it was a Saturday, because I think we went out afterwards.
I don't remember.
Usually we don't go on Sundays.
But anyway, whatever it was time for us to call it. And so we went up. Of course, he's really upset with himself. Mm-hmm. So that was a long night at the Sellon household. We stayed away from him, gave him his space. And then we fast forward to like a week later.
Yeah. So a week later, same stand, same setup. We're into the rut now, deep into the rut.
Yep.
And sitting there, 25 feet up, I look across. I'm like, oh my goodness. I'm on the west side of our property. Where I had been seeing them come out have been on the east side, but I just happened to sit on the west side because the wind was blowing. Wind was better for that stand than it was on the east side. As I'm sitting there, the 130 class comes out. Now, again, in between the time I had shot him and this time, I was sitting on the west side again, and he came out of the east side chasing some does. And number 2 came after him, and then they started fighting like right in front of me. So they started sparring, and in my mind, I'm thinking, "Oh my gosh, don't break your horns! Don't, those are mine! Don't break them!" But at any rate, so a few days after that, again, I'm sitting on the west side. I look across on the east side, and the 130 class comes out. He comes walking out right by my tree stand, And so I text Heather right away. I'm like, man, I sat on the wrong side of the field. I go, that's our luck. This is how the season's going to go. We're going to play cat and mouse, and then he's going to disappear.
By the way, it was like 5 text messages. It wasn't just one. Like, it was multiple. He was that frustrated.
So I'm sitting there, and it kind of works along the edge, and then kind of just goes into the north part of the field. Now, I know when they go in the north part of the field, oftentimes what they'll do is they'll cut across the northwest corner, which is about 80 yards from my tree stand. So I thought if he might pop back out and cut that corner, and I might be able to call him down and get a crack at him, get a shot at him. And so as I'm sitting there, about a half hour, I don't know, 20 minutes, half hour later, I have a doe that comes out of that northwest corner right to me, walks up right underneath me. I'm like, she's a good sized doe, really nice doe. I look back, and all of a sudden another doe comes springing out. And as she sprung out, I hear grunting, like a lot of grunting. And I look, and here's that 130 class just right on her tail. He's chasing her. So long story short, I shouldn't say long story short, because we've already told this story in podcasts and so on and so forth. I end up getting him. And so that was just super, super, super exciting. We didn't expect that whatsoever. I didn't know that there was this class buck on our property. We had hoped based on what we had seen in the past, but I estimated he was a 130 class. After I shot him, his weight, actually Tala's buck was heavier than my buck because he lost a lot of weight. What we found out in the end was this was the buck I had shot a week earlier, and he had lost a bunch of weight because he was wounded.
And it was the rut.
And it was the rut. Yes, it was the rut. He hadn't been eating. He was wounded. He had lost a lot of weight.
But he was still the top buck out there.
Oh yeah, his weight was all on his head. You pick him up, and he hit really heavy set of antlers.
Chasing bucks off the does.
So when we get in, I right away I go out and green score them, based on the measurements or how I understand it, based on doing research. And I came up with a green score of like 146, 147. And I thought, clearly, this is the biggest buck I've shot in my life. If he's 146, 147. So I take him down to the taxidermist, and the taxidermist asked me if I was going to get it officially scored. And no, I'm not going to get it officially scored. I know it's a good buck. I don't need to get it officially scored. So then she started talking about Pope and Young, and here's what you need for Pope and Young. And I think he's all of that. I think he would qualify for Pope and Young. She asked me how big his main beams were, and I said, well, I measured at 16. She measured him at 19, like 19 and a half, I think. And so I thought, geez, if I measured at 147, he might be pushing 150. So I said, yeah, let's get it officially scored. So we ended up getting it officially scored, and he came back under what we expected, but kind of right at what we had measured. So here's basically when I measured, I understood that you have three distances to measure: the inside distance, distance between the innermost part outside the antlers, so the outermost distance, and the distance between tip to tip. I didn't realize that you don't factor in the distance between tip to tip and the outside distance. So my buck actually came in at 122 and 6/8. That was the official score. If you factor in those other measurements, the tip to tip and outside, he would have been 142 and 6/8. So he was right at where we would expect. And so right at where I green scored him. So needless to say, we were super, super pumped. We were super, super excited. So yeah, in the end, we had a pretty successful deer season. I ended up getting another doe in the late season in December. So we were able to put some meat in our freezer. That buck that I shot, the 130 class, because I had shot him because he was wounded, his inside was full of pus. So we didn't want to keep the meat. So we didn't want to risk getting sick off of eating an infected meat. So we ended up burying him and keeping what we could. So we're keeping the antlers and stuff. So, but Remy, who just made her appearance, hi baby, the star of our COVID time off, try to get her out on some birds. We actually got her some birds, didn't we?
We got some quails. That didn't work out so well, especially when the quails got loose in the house accidentally and me transferring them from the box to the pen. Got a lot of training in. We ran her a lot. But by the time it worked out for us to go to the preserve and they were just out of birds. So that was that was disappointing.
It's disappointing in that, she does a pretty good job on the preserves. And one thing you guys got to understand, we talked about this a little bit with the podcast when Andy, Drew, and I sat down. Michigan doesn't have a lot of quails in the wild, doesn't have a lot of pheasants in the wild. So it's not
especially not by our house.
Especially not by our house. Especially, it's certainly not like Minnesota when we're driving in Minnesota. Geez, you get flocks of quail or flocks of pheasants that were just congregating along the side of the road. You don't get that in Michigan.
Well, and that's also not pheasant time, so we have to, if we want to hunt with her, we have to go on a preserve right now. We were supposed to go out to Minnesota with her over winter or over Christmas break, and we had the blizzard come through, and then we had issues with Todd's truck, and just we didn't end up making it out there, which is why he went back out.
It's on my birthday, yeah.
Yeah, went out for his birthday. Yeah. So he was able to go out, but we had school. She's not one that, I don't know how she would do if someone else was running her. When we go out, I always run her. And you can see she's very attached to us. I think she maybe would have done okay with him, but not really sure. So yeah, he just went out. He actually flew out. So we weren't going to fly her out there. And
she does a better job when somebody's completely focused on her, and then you have another person running the gun. So you got to handle her in a gun. She isn't trained to the point yet to listen to one person with a gun. So.
Yeah, she's not even 3 years old yet. And I've learned so much. There's so much that I would do differently. The next time around, I was told we had to survive the first 3 years with her, because she's such a spitfire. Not that she looks like it right now, but she's a feisty little thing. But
she'll be 3 on Saturday.
She'll be 3. We're almost there. And we have noticed a lot of difference in change in her personality in a good way, just calming down and that. But yeah, we're hoping there's we found some places outside of Lansing.
Yeah, we'll go to next fall.
Yep. And then I want to take her out grouse hunting up in Benzie County. There's a grouse unit up there. So that's really our goal. And I think that's important to talk about, is that
and those grouse won't run loose in the house.
True. But I think it's important to say that, not every hunting season you're going to hit all your goals. Right. And I did get out. I didn't get a deer, but I did get out more than what I have in the past. We didn't get her out. We got her out. We got her running, but we didn't get her on birds at the preserve like we had hoped to. And that's okay. There's plenty more opportunities for that.
And to give you an idea of how popular preserve hunting is around here. And again, when we say preserve, it's not like high fence hunting. It's not a game ranch. It's you pay for a certain number of birds to be released. They put them out in a field, and it's like hunting wild pheasants at that point. So we called the guide to see if we called Olive Acres, who we go through. They had some openings, so Heather and I looked at our calendar. We confirmed with each other. We looked at it. We were available. We called them back. By the time we called them back, they were already sold out. So that's just how popular preserve hunting is around here. And so,
are you comfortable?
So we'll have to get her on get her on some next year. We did find out, as Heather mentioned, we found some other areas where we could go hunt pheasants around the Lansing area, which is about an hour and a half drive from our house. So that's one of our goals for next year already. Trying to get Remy on some wild pheasant.
Gonna sit. You good girl. You good girl. But looking forward to what we've got coming up. We've got, the goose hunt. So super excited about the goose hunt. We have the spring run with the fish. So
turkey season coming up.
Yep. I'm excited to try to learn how to fly fish the Pere Marquette up by my dad's cabin. When the brown trout start running. I'm not I don't have a lot of interest in turkey hunting. That's more his thing. So I'll probably go fishing when he goes turkey hunting.
Trying to convince Heather to let me go down and visit Kendra so we can do some turkey hunting in Georgia.
Okay, I would 100% go down to Georgia to visit Kendra. I would do that. That does sound like fun to me.
Remy's trying to take over the video here.
Yeah. Someone's ready to go play. brought us this. So.
Anyway, all in all, it was a very successful hunting season. We did get some pheasants in Minnesota. We got some fish in Minnesota. So every excursion we went on, we went on the crane hunt in December.
Not the you.
And we came home with some crane meat. So every excursion we went on, and obviously we were able to harvest deer, we were able to harvest crane, we were able to harvest pheasants, we were able to get some fish. So we're off to a pretty good start to 2023, and so
and I'm hoping the crane hunt. Oh man, listening to Todd talk about it, to everyone who went on it, to see the videos. I am so excited to go on that next year. And when they say ribeye in the sky, it's no lie. That meat is absolutely fantastic. It's so good.
If you guys haven't seen the video yet, it's out on YouTube TV, or out on YouTube. Also out on Carbon TV Network and Waypoint TV, or not Waypoint TV, but Carbon TV Network. So you can check that out and see what Heather was talking about, how much fun we had. It was just an absolute blast.
So not only really great footage from all of them that went there. I think Nick did an amazing job of really compiling it and putting it all together. You want to be center of attention. If you can't tell, this dog is attached to us. When they say they're Velcro, Vizslas are Velcro dogs, they are. I have Aussies. I thought those were Velcro dogs. Nothing compared to this thing. So
this is our first couch chat of 2023, and so like I said, we were able to accomplish our goals. Actually, my buck. So I got a phone call from the guy that did the official score. I had to go out and fill out some paperwork because he did score high enough to get into the Michigan record books.
Yes. So that was exciting.
Yeah, he finished like 80th all time, 80 something all time. So that was pretty exciting to get in the Michigan record book. So a pretty cool experience, really cool experience. So hopefully with this couch chat, we'll be able to get Tala's hunt up there. Like I said, not the greatest quality, but it's really cool. It's a really cool video to see and I think it's first timer. So
it's important that you were just like in the moment too, to be able to experience that. And I think that's just when you're a parent and you watch your kid go through something, whether it's getting the first buck, or watching her make her first layup in a basketball game. I think there's something that is just so powerful about having it be your own child doing it, and so much more exciting than when you did it for the first time. So I think that video that Todd keeps talking about that he got, there's just so much excitement. And I don't know if you would have been able to actually get that full
emotion.
Yeah, like honestly, I'm surprised the phone didn't go flying out of the tree stand. He was so excited. I can only imagine what it looked like, or to be a fly on the wall, or not the wall, but like the tree that they were in, because he was a little bit excited, just a little bit excited.
So we would get Alan one again next year. So
yeah,
we'll see. Pipey's coming along. She's got a couple years yet before she takes on her safety, but
she's been shooting her bow. So that's been good. She's really excited to do that.
We'll do that more here in the off season too. That's part of what our plan is, to get all of the bows adjusted to everyone. Pipey has one, Tala has one, Heather has one. We got to get them fit perfectly to each person and make some adjustments to it, so they feel perfectly comfortable shooting the bow. So you're smiling.
I think she's trying to tell us that she's done.
So okay.
Well, that wraps up our first couch chat of 2023 and recap. We've got a lot that we have planned for this off season. Yeah, we have a lot of off season work. Our wheels are just spinning of some things. Our particular area has been pretty hit pretty hard with autumn olives and that invasive species that has taken over a lot of our property. So we want to do some clearing out of that, and
got to upgrade some of our blinds that we have on the property. So
we'll have some good stories about our blinds as we share those.
Also, our equipment. We already just just mentioned that we have to upgrade some of our equipment and do some changes to that.
Yeah, we started to upgrade our trail cams.
Mm-hmm.
So working on that as well. So lots of fun stuff in the works right now. And we're excited for the 2023 season.
Yep. So thanks for joining us, everybody. Couch Chats, Todd and Heather.
Stay obsessed.
Stay obsessed. Remy, say stay obsessed. Stay obsessed.